All right, so we were talking off air, but Jake, for everybody that is not familiar with you and familiar with the company you work with and the product you have, who are you? Give a quick little Cliff Notes version of who you are and explain kind of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, man, appreciate you guys having me on. I'm Jake Wilks. I'm the director of sales or the director of business development for Firefly Recovery. I was employee number one about 3.5, 4 years ago. And really, we've just been growing in the space ever since that. So we're still kind of a quiet whisper in the recovery and performance space, but have now grown to, work with about 350 college and pro teams and are, quickly spreading awareness as we get to do more stuff like this, and work with teams like Towson and Justin. But essentially, we were a medical device that was used to prevent blood clots and help with swelling post-surgery. We were really brought over to the U.S. To be used for post-operative care. The standard of care in the medical world is to put on SCD sleeves, or what they call really a leg squeezer, or a compression device. And we were really developed to displace those machines in the medical world. And what they found was that by modifying an NMES device or a stem signal, they could actually comfortably stimulate the nervous system directly and increase systemic blood flow and lower extremity blood flow, similar to compression. But when they did head-to-head research, it actually found that it increased venous and arterial flow 32% better, and then increased lower extremity blood flow all the way from hip to toe by 400%, whereas compression was about 117. So they were getting tremendous results for post-operative swelling, DVT, which is just blood clots, and wound care. And essentially, when we started selling it as a medical device, what teams quickly realized was, hey, this product moves blood really well, and it's wearable, portable. Patients can be fully mobile. So it's just a really convenient and effective device at increasing blood flow throughout the body, which, as we know, we'll get into, is super beneficial for recovery and healing and recovering the body faster. So we quickly get kind of dragged into the athletic training and recovery space, just really based off the effectiveness of the product moving blood and how easy and effortless it was for athletes to use. So that was kind of our journey. We got pulled into the space about about 4.5, 5 years ago, and I've really been growing ever since. So started on the medical side and then ended up as the over-the-counter version, the Firefly. The medical version is called the Gecko. The over-the-counter is what we sell to our college and pro teams, which is the Firefly. So really all medically, clinically backed research, and now really just having a blast working with pro and college sports and helping athletes recover faster without really having to limit their movement. They can pretty much recover anywhere, anytime. So that's kind of who we are and what we do. And obviously we can get more into the science and stuff too, but that's the journey so far.
So for you, what made you be employee number one, and how did that all go down for you personally?
Right place, right time. Honestly, my background, I was played football in college at Samford University here in Birmingham. At Samford, not Stanford. I'm about 5'7", so it was not good enough to play at Stanford. But in any means, had a fun time at the Samford University, and go Bulldogs. But my degree was in management and sports marketing with a concentration in sales. Got into the fitness space with a company called Iron Tribe Fitness, and helped oversee and manage 5 locations here in Birmingham, and then transitioned from that to medical sales. And that's kind of how I got from, one connection in the medical cell world, introduced me to Anthony Genstead, our founder. They knew my background in sports, had just a huge passion for athletes and for performance and recovery. And so it just kind of was the perfect fit. I met Anthony. Anthony basically interviewed me on the phone. He said, "Hey, Jake, if you're serious about the job, you'll book a flight to Orlando. I'm meeting with the Yankees and the Braves tomorrow. Get on a flight, meet me there, and I'll walk you through the technology." So I booked a red eye, flew to Orlando,
Talk
got
about
off the
baptism
plane.
by fire. Right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
dude, I didn't even know what product we were selling at this point. I was just like, all right, I'll see you there. So I flew to Orlando, met with Anthony, and walked into the Braves clubhouse and was like, "How you guys doing?" I heard Anthony, pitch the product, and I was like, "Man, this is dope. Like, I wish I had this in college." And man, he was so. I was very impressed by Anthony. He was just super relationship built. Like, people loved him, and he was really, really good at explaining our technology. And Anthony has a huge background in the medical space. He's been in DME, which is just durable medical equipment. He has a two or three DME companies that he oversees, and we're based out of Orange County, California. And he's been serving the, the physicians and orthos in California for many, many years. So he knows a lot about the medical side of things, and
So is
really
that
kind of
how you,
helped
is that how you
development.
guys got all those research articles on, on the site, started off in that medical world and then being able to transition it that way?
Yeah, like I said, the company started. Anthony brought the product over from the UK. He became the sole distributor for the Gecko. The Gecko is the medical version. It's FDA approved for, like I said, edema, blood clot prevention, and wound care. So all of our
Yeah.
research was heavily focused on how we move blood in the body and how that blood plays an effect on swelling and blood, when it comes to preventing blood clots and edema and stuff like that. So it was good because we already had all the research on blood flow. And then we were able the Firefly and the Gecko is ran by the same patented technology called the on-pulse technology. Um,
Yeah.
they're very similar in the way the stem and the frequencies that we use. The Gecko does have a little bit higher level of stem. It has 11 levels of stem, whereas the Firefly has 7. So the Firefly is same product, just over the counter. We don't make medical claims with the Firefly, but that's how we were brought to the U.S. originally.
So the way that you guys have the device, it goes on that specific spot on your kneecap. Walk us through, for people that are unfamiliar with the device,
Sure.
how it works, and kind of some of the common things. Like for us, I mean, I know anybody that anytime we're traveling, or if anybody like rolls an ankle at practice, that's the first thing they want.
Sure. Yeah. So for the audience who hasn't, who can't get a visual of the Firefly, I would encourage you to Google it and, be able to see the image. We move blood similar to compression boots, which is, Normatec recovery pumps, whatever you're using, but we look like a stem, like a muscle stem. So it's a really unique product. But once you see the device, it's really like a sticker. It almost looks like an Apple Watch that you put around the leg. You put the device right on top of the fibular head, just so it stimulates what's called the peroneal nerve. The peroneal nerve actually starts at the top of the hips, wraps around the fibular head, and goes all the way down to the toes. The stem, when it stimulates that nerve, actually it uses your body's own mechanics to fire blood. So instead of massaging and squeezing blood intermittently to increase lymphatic return, it's using the body's own mechanics, firing blood. And Justin knows this, the foot flutter,
Yeah.
we call it the Firefly flutter. It's really just a dorsiflex in the foot, or a rhythmic movement in the foot. And what happens is when you stimulate that nerve, the foot flutters, that actually pushes blood to and from your heart. So you get a systemic response. So even though you're putting the device below the knee, you're still getting venous and arterial flow. So you're increasing full body systemic blood flow. And then secondarily, by stimulating the peroneal nerve directly, it actually affects the entire lower extremity chain. So even though you're placing it on the fibular head below the knee, you're actually getting that 400% increase in microcirculation all the way from hips down to your toe. So for hamstrings, quads, ankles, like Justin mentioned, you're getting just as much blood flow throughout the entire lower extremity as you are where you place the device, which is the only reason we put it on the fibular head, is just because that's it's a good indicator, a good place to locate for athletes. It's not it's not too hard to find. And then once you find the fibular head, you don't have to do a lot of searching. You just slap it on and you're stimulating the nerve from there.
So you basically found a way to tap into the software rather than just making all the effort. Because, we were talking this off air. We were talking about BFR this morning in a different podcast. And
Sure.
I was just thinking about what you're saying. So you getting me quiet was quite an achievement for yourself, but I was actually thinking what to ask. But I actually Googled, like you said, I went through the same process. I just Googled the device and I'm like, how does that work? Like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Is it that easy and it works? But, of course, coming from the medical, not the mechanics, actually how it works, but it's solid because it came from a different background. We usually
that's
the other way around, right?
Yeah.
So we just find something that works and then you're just trying to explain it. Where if you go I wouldn't say a couple steps back necessarily, but it's something health related that requires this much more detail. You kind of really say, it just feels great. Athletes just want to jump, it's just medical based, which is some serious stuff. So I was definitely intrigued. And, besides of finding the little spot, which I've definitely found all that electrical charge by hitting a table before, how would you instruct the people? How does it go about, hey, this is how you use it?
Yeah, a great question, and probably a question that I've already discussed with Justin and his staff a couple of times as far as use cases.
Well,
and
yeah, because
utilizations.
the guy, like, again, like if a guy has a, a strain on hamstring or groin, they're like, oh, I'm like, no, you don't put it there, you put it here. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely what's unique about the product is there's really no predicate products. You look at a massage gun, you know what a massage gun does, right? You look at a boot, you know what a compression boot does. Whereas our product kind of fits within the middle of them. It's kind of a little mixture of both. So it is kind of important to have the education so that you get over some of those preconceived biases. Like Justin said, if we have an athlete with a hamstring pull or a quad, issue, their initial response is to move the device on that area, to like put the unit somewhere near that spot of pain or that spot of injury. Whereas you don't need to, once you stimulate the nerve, the peroneal nerve, you're actually affecting the whole extremity. It's flushing blood similar, in the same fashion. So there's really no need to, move the device. But recommendations for athletes, and I'll speak specific to, college and pro athletes, and how we're being used in sports, as far as in their recovery protocols. One is just general recovery. Obviously, when I played at Sanford, we used a ton of different modalities. But as an athlete, the biggest pain I had was figuring out the time to recover. You're spending 40 hours a week in the field house. You're going to class, you're hanging out with your girlfriend, you're doing stuff you shouldn't do. You're doing all these things. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, man, I gotta be ready to play tomorrow, or I gotta be ready to practice tomorrow. How do I do that? And what the unique thing about Firefly is that it's completely wearable, completely portable, and there's zero limitations on your mobility. So what that does, it allows athletes to use it in longer windows or longer treatment times. And so what we recommend as far as general recovery, we would actually recommend being in the units for 2 to 4 hours. What we've seen, and we do have a little bit of pretty cool recovery research. One of those is actually done from professional rugby players. Heyo, Fernando.
There we go. Something we can talk about.
Now you cannot feel like you're not left out.
I'll take it from here.
All right. So I can't remember the team it was, but we did a study.
I can't remember his drug. Whatever.
I can't remember the team. You guys all look the same to me.
Yeah.
It was some badass rugby players. That's all I know. But what we found was that immediately post match, it took them about 72 hours to fully recover from delayed onset muscle soreness, and that was just post match with no extra modalities or recovery implemented. It was just from match to leaving the game, 72 hours. What we did is we added the Firefly in different increments, and what we found was that when they wore the Firefly for 2 to 4 hours, they actually returned back to peak performance or back to baseline in 28 hours. So they truly were able to speed up the body's recovery process 3 times faster. So in the hands of a basketball or a baseball team that's playing 3 games in a week, if you can get your body back to baseline in 28 hours instead of 72, you're truly having an advantage over other teams. So what we recommend for recovery is, 2 to 4 hours of blood flow is what we've seen to maximize the effect it can have on the body. We still think if an athlete's in the device for 1 hour, 30 minutes to an hour, they're still going to get good results just because you're still increasing blood flow. But we do recommend trying to get into recovery windows of more of 2 to 4 hour windows.
Now, are you saying true passive or just wearing it throughout life too? Like, because I've done both.
Yeah, and I want to add something to that. And I think that's the advantage of me being in this call and not knowing how it works. So first, do you feel anything, or what does it feel? And then what are the dangers of just forgetting you having it, like, I don't know, falling asleep?
You don't forget that. First of all, you don't forget that you have it on. Second of all, it says you can sleep with it on. I was going to ask you, like, has anybody ever been able to actually fucking fall asleep with it on, even on its lowest level? Because your foot is just, it's like you have restless leg syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're like twitching.
Like your foot is twitching. Now you can wear it. Like the other day, I went sparring and I went to do a low kick on someone and I fucking kicked their kneecap. And I was like, God, that hurt. So I just put it on for the whole afternoon, like when we took the kids to the park or whatnot. And it was just walking around wearing it on. But so you don't forget that it's on.
I don't know, mate. I've seen people falling asleep in like nightclubs with a speaker. Like
there's a different reason.
Weird people. And we're talking about athletes, right? So athletes just sort of take the body to the limits. I would not be surprised if someone fell asleep using one of those? That's just an honest question. You can say it's impossible. Right. It's fine.
Well, I guess if you're wasted and you're in a Firefly unit, I mean, more power to you for wanting to.
Disclaimer:
recovery.
Do not drink and Firefly.
Do not drink and Firefly. That is correct. No, but yeah. So to answer your question, you won't forget it's on because your foot is fluttering when you put the devices on. If you are passive, as in if you're sitting relaxing, if you're on the couch, watching Netflix, if you're sitting in a chair, whatever you're doing, if you're not moving, your feet will flutter. And it's just going to get a rhythmic tick. You're just fluttering away, which is, when it comes to athletes, what I do love about the device is most athletes like to feel something and think it's working. That's just how
I was going to say that because sorry to interrupt you, but when you were talking about the gun, like sometimes for athletes, it happens even with training modalities, just saying like how sleep is important, but they cannot feel that impact straight away. Like, oh, how would I know? Like, and they just feel like, oh, bicep curls work because I feel this well, but with recovery is if you feel nothing, then, so it's like crystals, it's working.
A lot of it,
it's working.
A lot of it is cognitive, right? It's how you think this is affecting your body. And that actually probably, I don't know all the research on cognitive, anecdotally just thinking I'm recovered better, but I'm sure if you think you recover better, you're probably going to perform better. So regardless, I think what's unique about Firefly is it's immediate. As soon as you put it on, your feet flutter. And honestly, it's really fun to see athletes put it on for the first time because they're amazed that a little strip, like a little, Apple Watch sticker that you put on your legs can make your feet flutter so fast. He's got it on hand right there. And I don't know if people, watch this podcast or listen to it, but if you're watching, this is the device. So it's truly, you just take it off. You take it off a little plastic stripping, and then it's a unit that you put flesh against the skin. It stays on the body. It's got adhesive gel. But once you put the unit on, you turn the level on. Your feet will, there's 7 levels, so you might stimulate at level 2 or 3 or 4 or level 1, just depending on the size of your leg and stuff. But once you see the foot flutter, that's all you need. You don't have to be doing the stinky leg for it to be working, as long as you got the slight flutter. When you get up, if you're walking around, if you're being active, your motor system will actually override the flutter. So you'll be able to walk without it affecting your movement at all, and it actually will turn more into a pulse. It'll feel like it'll almost feel like your lower extremity has a heartbeat. Your leg will kind of pulse a little bit, and you'll feel just a slight, I guess, just a pulse down your leg. It's not painful or, in my mind, it's not uncomfortable, and for most people, it's not. So it's really easy to be mobile in. I actually got a call from we saw the Kansas State soccer player was actually wearing her units at a U.S. women's national team match, and she was like, "I'm literally recovering, watching my heroes at the same time. Like, this is amazing," right? So it's really cool that athletes can kind of wear it whenever they want. Obviously, like Justin mentioned, a lot of our teams are using it during travel, which I think is the biggest no-brainer of all. When I played at Sanford, we had a 11-hour bus ride to VMI, right? So 11 hours on a bus will that'll put you down for a couple of days.
It's interesting actually that you say that about the DVT stuff, because I had a kid on my roster that had one a couple of years ago, and staying on the roster, once I had purchased these, I was like, hey, you know what, like when we go on these road trips or these flights, like I want to make sure, because they say for circulation you should stand up on airplanes and whatnot.
Yep.
And I was like, holy cow, I should use this for him. And he liked it. He was one of the guys that was all about it. So it is kind of like, hey.
So like so like not just for recovery, but say if you're going to sit in a plane or you're going to sit somewhere that you might have the adverse effects of, whatever is it that it's desirable in a field, you can use it and just keep it going.
Yeah, like for us, if we, Fernando, sorry, Jake, but if like when for our bus rides, like anytime if we go to like Richmond or down to William and Mary, those are like 3-hour, 4-hour rides. Guys would put them on for just that ride, so that way they weren't sitting and feeling kind of stiff, and then they'd get to their hotel room and they'd feel a little bit better, like they didn't have to move around to get the aches out of just sitting there for that one.
Mate, with sevens from Buenos Aires to Hong Kong, which was one of the stages, and then Singapore, it was door to door, 39 hours and 3 planes. So do you have like a pod, like a firefly pod? We just like
Oh, wait a
We
minute.
need
travel,
to.
like a
We need
suit, just tie around
Yeah.
your neck and just pulse anywhere.
Yeah, no, we don't yet. Maybe that's our next thing. We got it in the hopper.
Hey, you heard it here first.
I had
Patent pending.
Yeah, we'll loop you in as an advisor for that. But no, it is amazing. I fly all the time, to all of our teams and stuff. And every time I'm on flights, I actually, of course, I wear my
So
Firefly
can you
unit,
take them
but-
on commercial flights? That's a question though. Then can
Yeah,
you?
you can walk straight. You can walk straight through TSA. Yeah, our teams will
Okay.
walk straight through
So
security with them.
when I just went to go fly to go see Scott, I was like, oh, I want to bring mine, and then I was like, I don't want to. I don't want
Oh.
this to be some. But like, I was like, I don't want to not. I don't want TSA to stop me and like make me fucking. I don't want to lose this. Like,
Sir, step
I know
away
that-
from the device.
yeah. So I'm like, fuck. I'm not about to like, because like they made me throw
Yeah.
away. They made me throw away unopened sunscreen before. So I was like, I like this thing. I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to be on a plane for a while. I wanted to bring it.
Yeah,
But
no,
I
it's
was like,
funny
I'm
you
not
say
gonna-
that. I
Alright.
actually get that question a lot. I got a call from the Reds PT the other day.
But
And
they
he goes, "Hey,
should be
Jake."
flying. They should be flying charter. That don't matter. If you like, I was flying American. All right, I was paying my.
you
I
were
was going
you were
to visit a
flying
friend.
Spirit.
No,
You were
I
on
was,
Spirit
I
Airlines.
was flying American to go visit a friend.
Hey,
I wasn't flying.
You were
charter
taking
to
your
go
own
major
luggage
league
to the airplane. You were just
Yeah.
carrying your
Hey,
own luggage onto the
Spirit Air-
airplane.
Yeah,
Spirit Airplanes would have charged you for that Firefly unit. They're like, "Oh, is that extra baggage?
Yeah.
That's $20 for that."
that sounds.
But no,
about
yeah,
right.
you can literally walk straight through TSA with them. But
Okay,
I was
that's
on the
good to
airplane the
know.
other day. I was looking at the back of my seat, and I was staring at this brochure just on. I think it might have been I can't remember which airline I was flying with, but I was looking at the brochure, and it literally caught my eye because there was a diagram, and it was telling people how to prevent blood clots and help move blood throughout the flight. And it was literally a diagram of a foot pumping. And the brochure that I was staring at on the airplane was telling you to pump your foot throughout the flight and do foot circles. I was like, man, I need to slap a Firefly logo right there.
Yeah,
put
you
the
need it.
website-
I was gonna say
find-
that's the
yeah,
million dollar
find that
idea.
contact info.
I was like,
and be like,
geez.
hey,
Yeah.
I
I
was
What
got
like,
one
fuck
or
man,
two
sports, mate?
devices.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
dude, that is perfect because
Find
that's
an
exactly-
airline that
Find an
has it
airline.
as part of the goodie bag. As part of the goodie bag, like stuff for your eyes. You get the little socks and you get your Firefly.
That's right. I mean,
There we
I was
go.
hoping-
Second idea.
Patent pen, second patent pending.
patent too. But speaking on flights, this is an interesting study we have is that we have a study that shows just by sitting stationary in the units, you actually get 62% of the blood flow you'd get from walking, ambulation. So, you mentioned standing up and walking around the flight to move
Yeah.
blood, or the bus. If you're on a 6-hour bus ride or a 4-hour flight, whatever it might be, and you're in these devices that are actually increasing full body blood flow similar to walking, I mean, think about how your legs are going to feel after the flight or the bus. I mean, you're
Yep.
truly going to feel like, wow, I'm warmed up. I remember when I played, we get off the bus and go straight into a walkthrough. I don't know if you do that, Justin. You get off the bus, you go immediately into a walkthrough practice, in the hotel parking lot or something, and everyone's walking around like zombies. You have these dead legs, you can't move. So, I mean, a lot of our teams are using it immediately, obviously on the bus ride to the event, and then immediately post game too. So before and after the game or the meet or the match, whatever you're going to.
Is there any difference or any benefit to, for people using it if they are going to be stationary, to be, elevating their feet, keeping it level, or just to sit? Does it matter?
That's a good question, and honestly, it's something we could do more research on. We hear teams doing both, but we haven't heard it to be either more effective or less effective. So, I would think because of the way we're actively moving blood, I wouldn't think it would matter as much, just because you're getting constant movement in the foot, so it's already moving blood. It's already pumping. So I don't know if it would have a better effect being elevated or not.
Thinking about combining it, because that's what the first thing athletes will do, be like, oh, I have one system for recovery. What if I have 10 and combine them and like probably jump in the water, jump in the ice with a Firefly or in a sauna? Is it water resistant? Does it take some heat or cold, or does it break?
I mean, I wouldn't advise jumping in a cold tub with a Firefly unit on. I mean, it's got a battery, so you probably don't want to get the battery wet.
Okay.
And it's a gel-based product, so if you get that gel super wet, it's probably not going to be very effective. And, honestly, I'm sure you guys have had podcasts and discussed ice, the concept of ice. I speak with people that are smarter than me all the time. I mean, my background's in management and sports marketing, and I learn as much as I can, but I'm always speaking to the head of sports medicine or the head of the athletic training. But it's always interesting to hear the different beliefs on, is ice good for recovery or is it not? I think there's more and more teams that are having, different viewpoints on ice. I wouldn't say to use Firefly on ice, but I know some teams are doing it. So I think it just really depends on, the feedback they're getting. But I know ice is really more slowing down blood flow based off of what I understand. And it's really being used more for pain management for the most part, is what I'm hearing, on the recovery side. But like I said, I'm not a sports scientist, so I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. But I just wanted to kind of ask what you guys have heard or
How about if
experimented with
somebody
that.
said they wanted to extra recover and they put two devices on one leg?
I mean, I've never seen that or had an athlete do that I know of. I know we do advise wearing them bilaterally. We advise wearing on both legs. But I've never
Any
seen
reason
an
why?
athlete. I think if you're just firing blood from two different spots, you're getting both legs pumping. The only time you'd wear it on one leg unilaterally is if you had an injury. Then you could leverage, the units have 30 hours of use per pair, right? So you could leverage 60 hours on that affected side to help with swelling or inflammation, whatever it might be.
Yeah. You and I had talked prior of any use for the upper extremity. Have you guys dived down that rabbit hole at all any further, or anything about that?
Yeah, I'm continuing to get feedback from teams on upper extremity. Most of our teams are placing the device over the ulnar nerve or the radial nerve for the upper extremity application. Having great feedback. I know a ton of our MLB teams are using it like that. A lot of our college baseball programs are using it with their pitchers. Anecdotal feedback's been great. We're hoping to get more research as we continue to grow as a company and put money into that. But overall, I think application-wise, it makes sense. You're firing the ulnar or the radial nerve. It's causing the flutter in the hands. So we would think that the microcirculatory effect that the peroneal nerve has for the lower extremities would be pretty similar to what the radial and the ulnar is getting in the upper extremities.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to jump on that question if you don't mind. Talk about recovery and feedback. What are your sort of objective markers for recovery when you're looking at technology? Like, say, we are looking at these many in such way. When you're talking about 28-hour recovery versus 72, for example.
I'm sorry, rephrase the question.
Yeah, like what are you using to measure, like, hey, how are you showing that they're more recovered 28 hours versus 72? Was it blood markers?
Yeah, is it blood markers? Is it RPE? Is it a combination between objective and subjective in general?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was a combination, and some of it was based off the creatine kinases levels as well. And I would have to go back and relook at that study to see what all the measurements were. But I think it was a combination of subjective and then the baseline, tested from baseline to I think it was the creatine kinases and some other measurements. But I can't remember exactly sure what I can actually send you guys that study, and you can put it on the website or something for people to review too.
Talking about the research, different clinical studies, does the Gecko have any research on upper extremity, or was the Gecko stuff all lower extremity as well?
Yeah, Gecko is all lower extremity just because it was developed for blood clots, so they focused all of it on the peroneal nerve just because, that's where 70% of your blood flow is coming from and where, blood clots typically happen. So they did all of the research on the peroneal nerve specifically.
You talked off air about, all the different athletic trainers that you had worked with. And I mean, your Instagram page is essentially like a who's who of all the different schools you've been to. Kind of talk about that and, kind of all the different connections that it's kind of allowed you, to kind of go down in this field of athletics.
Oh man, that's the best part of the job. I mean, I'm a huge fanatic when it comes to athletics and love this space, but also relationships. I mean, I think this world, the athletic world, the strength conditioning, the sports performance, the athletic trainers, everyone's so interconnected. And I think that's, how we've really grown as a company is truly from word of mouth. We're still a super small company, a 5-man team. So we're really blue collar. We started, like I said, about 4.5, 5 years ago with Anthony. Anthony started the company as a side hustle. He really leveraged the relationships that he had in the sports world from many, many years of medical, his medical practice, or his medical business, excuse me. And then, when he brought me on, it was really like, hey, Jake, let's make as many connections as we can and spread the word about Firefly. And so we've been extremely blessed to have people that have supported us and spoke on behalf of the product. And we've done our best to take care of the ones that have taken care of us along the way. So we've, been very fortunate to meet a lot of great people, and, the feedback from the product just continues to spread. And we love getting in front of as many people as we can and just really talking about the product and, obviously leveraging the athletes' feedback. We've been a very athlete driven device. We have athletes that want to support us and, tell their athletic trainers and their strength coaches about it. And yeah, I think, in this world, specifically athletics, it's all about relationships. So we try to do our best to, to use those to help continue to expand the product. We've never done a paid partnership. We've never had the marketing budget to really spend on getting athletes or athletic trainers to, pay people to say stuff about our product. It's truly all been just organic growth, from one team to the next.
With the relationships, what are some of the things that those, athletes are telling you, like, hey, this is what I really like, this is the ideal way that I like to use it? Are they giving you guys feedback on how you guys can better serve and coach the coaches on, how to better implement and use the product?
Yeah, the athletes really tell us how they're utilizing it. And that's, one of the things we hear is athletes are having amazing feedback from 1 hour use. So we're kind of changing. We're also always adapting to figure out how athletes are truly using it. 1 to 3 hours is kind of the average we're seeing on that end. But athletes, the feedback is really has truly been, this is helping me tremendously, and it's allowing me to recover when I haven't been able to find those windows. And we also created, we have essentially brochures that we send out with every case. And Justin, you haven't actually seen this yet, but it's basically a brochure that breaks down utilizations and use case scenarios, so that we hand those to we actually now ship those out to all of our ATs and our, performance coaches that are using. I was actually, we work with West Virginia football pretty closely, and we sent them one of the brochures, and the email was, hey, this thing's awesome. My athletes are really getting good, response from this. Can you send us 25 to 30 more so that we can post it around the locker room so athletes can learn more how to use it? So
don't do that until after we play them in the upcoming football. All right. Make sure that shipment's on.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like education is the key, for people to really maximize the product. And I think that's what we're trying to really, trying to dig into is getting athletes educated, and, teams and coaches and athletic trainers on how can you best utilize this device, because it is multi-purpose. It's great for recovery and travel, and for the feedback we have on return to play has been huge. We have a lot of our pro teams using it for that. So it's just a multi-purpose device that once the utilization, you can really leverage the unit in its full capacity.
Are you recommending athletes and utilizing it in training at all, just on a lower level frequency?
We haven't recommended that really, just because you're already moving when you're training. You're already in motion and your body's getting blood flow. We do have some of our PT clinics that we use it kind of during an active return to play, like during their PT session where they're doing certain movements to just continue to increase the blood flow, while they're stretching or doing foam rolling or whatever it might be. So you can be active in it, but I wouldn't really recommend like working out in the device.
So like, is it, you talked about the gel base. If you're sweating because I'm not talking about jumping in the water like Fernando. Like, come on.
Whoa, come on.
No, but like, let's say you're going through, an FRC session to enhance, to move around, or a yoga session or something, or just passive stretching, and you're sweating a little bit. is that going to make the gel go away and then it's not as good, or is the gel just to make it stick? Like, how about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it's gel based, after so many treatments, the gel does become less sticky, or if you're sweating, it will get a little, I guess, messy a little bit, or whatever you want to call it. But we do make the black knee straps that you've seen.
Yeah, so the knee straps,
device. Yeah, the knee straps are always good to hold the unit in place, but most of our teams use flex wrap and pre-wrap. That's like duct tape in the athletic training room. So, and Justin, you might be taking notes on that now. There you go. But yeah, flex wrap and pre-wrap works, and it's already in the athletic training room. So we do sell the knee straps, and we actually include a couple of knee straps in every case, complimentary. But most of our teams, if they don't have 50 knee straps, are using flex wrap and pre-wrap to help hold the unit in place.
Yeah, no, my knee wraps I gave to my father when he came to visit, because he had tendonitis in his tendinopathy in his knee, and he's like, I love these things. So
yeah,
gave him a pair, gave him everything. So he's on Team Firefly.
Hey, yeah, there we go. It's great for old people, actually. I mean, it really is.
He's not that old. How dare you?
No,
man.
It's great for middle-aged. So,
there you go.
Middle-aged people.
Well, what's middle-aged? Be careful, because I'm older than I look.
What in the education space are you guys looking to do? Are you guys looking to do any, content on education of, recovery enhancement? Because an example I think of is the company that made the chili pad or cooler, the thing that keeps your bed cold. They have a sleep course by Sleep Me. Are you guys looking to do something similar? What you guys doing with that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to produce some more platforms for education, and we're looking at that as we grow and expand. We definitely want to get some upper extremity, studies and research on that, so that we can actually advise on how to use it and what we're seeing, as far as research and results. And we also want to expand education on a couple of different things. I was speaking to the Alabama football athletic training staff, and they actually mentioned that they were using the units in pre-practice meetings. So they would actually put their players in the Firefly while they're watching film before practice to get the body primed and warmed up, and then they'd go practice. And they were like, we just think it's a great way to utilize blood flow and maximize the units while our athletes are sitting down doing nothing, watching film. And I was like, that's pretty unique, because I remember watching film for 3 hours before practice, when I was in college. And I'm like, wow, that's unique. So I would love to do some more studies on what does increasing blood flow before performance do. Can that actually help you increase performance? We have even a lot of feedback from our Olympians. We work a ton with the Olympic runners when it comes to either sprints or different track and field events. The running community is kind of our biggest community, outside of college and pro sports is running. And we've done some, cool partnerships in that community. But hearing from our Olympic athletes is we have a lot of runners that will actually use the device truly all the way up to the race, right before they compete. And their feedback's been great. They feel like they're able to get, I guess, better results. All anecdotal. We have no research on that yet, but I think that's another avenue.
Research. N of one research. That sounds way more professional, right?
There we go. You said it, Justin. But yeah.
No, that's big time stuff too. I mean, like you said, it's a great idea, especially if you have the ability to I'm sure they were the ones putting the devices on the guys before they were going into the meetings. But like you said, it's the exact same principle of, you're going to sit and travel, might as well sit and watch film before practice, do the same exact thing.
Yeah. So that's all kind of stuff we're looking for. And then obviously, when it comes to the platforms, we're wanting to we're going to bring on an advisory board as far as some influencers in the sports performance, sports science, medical, PT space. That advisory board is going to help us really forefront the education and help get that out there. So we're looking at doing that here in Q2, Q3. We've got some pretty awesome people that we're, hoping to partner with on that side of things. So yeah, we're just a, small company trying to take it one step at a time and get the news, get the good word out there.
Sounds like it would sort of be ideal to have a website or community in which all coaches came to learn and you can find
Something
them all
like
in the
that.
same place. Something like I hope
Some
someone has
place where
thought
some
like
place
something
where
like
strength coaches would come to learn.
like a community, a network, like a strength coach network. Wait a minute, that's what we do. What?
Oh man, yeah.
Can't believe that happened. It was so organic and natural flowing.
No, you're right.
How about any new products you guys looking at trying to change? Like, is there any upcoming okay, so for me, I hadn't seen the new devices in the different colors. Is there going to be a bigger device coming? Is there a smaller? What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, we got some exciting things down the pipeline. We're probably 12 to 16 months away, hopefully, fingers crossed, from a new, we call it the T3, but it's a rechargeable version. It'll be a device that will have, the ability for you to recharge the battery and use it continually. Right now, I don't know if we've actually discussed it on the podcast yet, but the Firefly is reusable but disposable. So it's 30 hours of use. Like I said, if you're doing 2-hour treatments, you're going to get about 15 treatments per pair. And then after those 30 hours, you would just dispose of it and get another unit. So right now, that's the current version. The rechargeable version will always have a disposable, aspect of it because it's gel-based electrodes, right? So, but you will have the ability to recharge it and to continue to use it. So that's what's down the pipeline. Our ultimate goal, Justin, is to be able to somehow have an app that will be connected to that device, and then maybe partner with something that's giving real live data, as in like a Whoop or Oura Ring, that's tracking recovery research. And we would love to figure out a way to partner with them and say, hey, when you wear the Firefly, how does that increase your recovery score? Which would be awesome. That would be kind of the future, is really partnering with something in that realm to where you can actually track your recovery, using Firefly. How will it increase the methods that those current devices are using for recovery.
Imagine if you could tie that into your training that was tracked on a platform like TeamBuilder, and then
imagine that, which happens to be the sponsor of this segment. What?
Whoa!
How did that happen?
How did that happen?
You guys are so talented at just looping.
No, that's really cool though. That's a really, like you said, I didn't think about the idea of like tying it into an app. And even if you not for tying it into Whoop or Oura Ring, but just the fact of like gamifying your recovery and like, hey, like congrats, like you use this device this long,
like a score, like a recovery score,
like, hey, you're using this, good job. And then it's I mean, our athletes are looking at their phones like however many times a day, right? Like
a million, at least a million.
Yeah. So then if that's their trigger, that they see the app on their phone and it's like, oh, I should, you can send them a nudge message too.
It's like feedback drives intent drives adaptation, doesn't it? So rather than just feeling building on that, it's great for them to know exactly what's going on, like in terms of numbers or colors. You know how athletes work.
Seriously, yeah.
Or sticky, smiley faces or whatever they need in the report card. But yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Whether we'll be able to get in touch with Whoop or Ring, I don't know. Shout out if you're listening to the podcast. Yeah, you never know. But no, we'd love to be on the cutting edge of that. Right now, like you said, it really is the product's based off of knowing that increasing blood flow can help with recovery. That's kind of point number one, outside of sleep and nutrition, which being the number 1 and 2 pillars of recovery. Increasing blood flow is number 3, and we know based off of our research that we're really increasing blood flow better than really any other modality that I know of on the market when it comes to systemic blood flow and lower extremity blood flow. So right now, it really is kind of like, hey, we know blood flow is good for recovery. Our athletes are feeling better. We're hearing great feedback, but obviously having that extra added visual or ability to see certain numbers would be tremendous. I mean, that would be an absolute game changer.
If somebody in their electrode starts to go away, would you advise somebody like, hey, don't start putting some other random gel on your leg or the device to make sure that it's staying sticky, or what would be some advice to somebody who's like, hey, I still have some battery life out of it, but the stickiness is going away or whatnot?
Yeah, and on top of that, how to pick the intensity, like what what does it change? You know, like why would you go from a 7 or 1 just based on how you feel, or is there any, you know, recommendation?
I'll answer your question first, Fernando. Is one, we recommend as soon as you see the foot flutter, that's really all you need. If you're comfortable at that level, I would stay. As soon as you see the foot tick, it's telling you that you're getting that movement and the blood flow is circulating. If you want to bump it up, you can. We don't have really any research showing that you're going to get more blood flow from a bigger foot pump. So I would actually recommend as soon as your foot flutters, you're in the level that you need to be in, and not necessarily to keep pumping the unit up. There's really no need to. So, and then for your question, Justin, you could use another gel. There's no negatives to it. As far as if that gel's starting to, to be less sticky or whatever it might be. We haven't heard any negatives, to using another gel, as long as the electrodes are stimulating the nerve, you're good.
Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you're like, hey, I wanted to make sure that I was able to, get this point across, or anything else you would really want to drive home to the listeners and our members?
I think you guys asked a lot of great questions. Obviously, if anyone is interested in learning more about the technology, our website is a really good spot. We've got a lot of our research on there. We've got a lot of, testimonials and teams. It's just www.recoveryfirefly.com. The pricing is on there as well. We do have, distribution, or we do basically a team sales. So if you're a team and you're ordering, you'd want to contact me, Jake, because I'd hook your team up with, with units, the bulk pricing. We sell them on our website for $45 a pair. So the unique thing about the technology, it is really affordable for most, most athletes. Whereas, other modalities aren't that affordable. You're looking anywhere from $400 to $1,400 for a lot of modalities. This gives, the option for high school athletes to order a device that the Cowboys are using, so that's a pretty unique thing. Or for runners to order a device that Galen Rupp and Molly Seidel are using, they're heroes in the running community. So, just kind of, it really does allow, the consumer market to get a professional, recovery tool that many pro and college athletes are using without, saving up for 6 months to order it, so, and then in the collegiate space, we sell them for an even more discounted price for our college and pro teams. So it makes it, it makes the strength coach not super afraid of handing an athlete their own unit that they can use outside of the, the performance space.
No, that's, I would 100% agree with that, and still being like, hey, let's use this thing. Let's make sure we're not just, using it for the one-time thing. Like it still works for a while. And I'll tell you what, when you tell the kids that, like some of my kids, they, we come to another road trip. I was like, hey, do you need a new one? They're like, no, I still have it from last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm still using it. We're good. Like, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. And Justin, thanks for mentioning that. If you are a strength coach or an athletic trainer, make sure your athletes know that it's not one-time use, because that would be on you if they threw it away after one time. Most of our athletes are getting about a month's use.
Yeah, because it's not 30 hours from the minute you use it, Fernando. It's like 30 hours total.
Why'd you clarify that with my name? I didn't get that.
I'm just telling you because I've had
Fernando. We don't know how hours work in Argentina, but in America, when you take it off, time stops.
Hey, remember, he was employee number 1, and I've used the device personally, so the two of us are more familiar with it. That's all it is.
That's it. Right? That's it.
You attacked me, so now I'm telling you.
Let's not make it that type of podcast.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point. You turn the unit on and off. If you use it for an hour, you'll get 30 usage. So if you use it for 2 hours, you're going to get 15 uses. So hopefully the math is not too hard, but you'll definitely get multiple treatments. The only time that you'll go through the unit really quickly is if there is an injury. If you do have an injury, if you have an acute ankle sprain, any type of hamstring pull, quad contusion, or MCL, ACL, whatever it is, then we would actually say wear the device as long as possible. And then I also want to bring back your point of sleeping in it, Justin. The only time we ever have athletes that would even need to sleep in the unit is if it was specific for an injury, for helping just flush out the lower extremities for an extended amount of time. The good thing is with the units, there's no contraindications on fatigue. So you won't fatigue the muscle group and you won't fatigue the nerve. So you really can leverage long periods of treatments. So if you have an ankle sprain, and you put the Firefly on for 20 hours straight, you're getting 400% increase in blood flow to that ankle. You're really going to be able to see some pretty awesome, results with that. And then that's when some of our athletes will leverage sleeping in it just to get longer treatments.
No, and I think you brought up a good point too about the clinical studies and the Geico. Like, I think that was, as I was looking through the website with the studies, but knowing that it had to be a medical device, and having that be the genesis of your guys' product, I think is, again, anybody that might have forgot that from the beginning of the show, like it came from something that has been in the medical community a little bit longer.
Yep.
Where can people reach out to you and continue to learn more about you or the product? Where can we send people to?
Yeah, a couple places. My email, I'm as Justin knows, I'm pretty quick at responding. My wife gets mad at me because I work 24/7, but when you're with a small company, that's what you do. But it's jake@recoveryfirefly.com is my email. Our website is www.recoveryfirefly.com. And then honestly, our Instagram, if you DM us, you're going to have 1 or 2 people respond, and that's me and our founder. So, you're going to get one of us. So the Instagram is always a good spot to hit us up at. If you're an athlete that wants to know more about the product, I know you're active on Instagram if you're an athlete, so hit us up, and then feel free to to contact me. And usually how we do the process, Justin, with teams is truly we get samples out, so we get product in your hand, and then I'll do a demo. I'll go over the education, I'll go over the science. We have a couple of good PowerPoints that I can send. We can send the research, and then we've got a lot of we've actually got some good really feedback from other teams about use case scenarios and how they integrated. That's how I know, as far as Alabama, they've helped. They shared the Alabama football staff shared a document of how they broke down integrations and use cases for us this season, which was super helpful just to see how a collegiate team's using it in multi-purposes, from recovery to travel to pregame to swellings and injuries and stuff. So we always can share that information, and then I always love to get on a Zoom call or meet the team in person and go over the product, make sure you know how to place it, and really just kind of let you get organic feedback. We always want people to try it and see what their own thoughts are. So if you're an athletic trainer or a strength coach, put it on yourself, see what your thoughts are, and then pass it to a few athletes.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been very interesting, to say the least. So
yeah,
it was great.
Well, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for helping us get some of the education and awareness out there, and maybe we can follow up on the Strength Coach Network, see what that's all about. But seriously, honored to be on here, Justin. It's been a blast working with you and a lot of your staff at Towson. You guys have,
like I said, I feel like everybody on staff has some now.
Yeah, it's been.
And someone came over there like, I was running out and got one. I was like, yeah, it's not getting delivered yet. I was like, I got some extra. Here you go. Like, get me back when your box comes in. It's fine.
Well, I love it, man. It's always a pleasure. Fernando, if you haven't used the product, I'm happy to give a sample out to you, free of charge, on the house.
If you can get it here, good luck. But we can definitely follow through off air after that, because it's definitely interesting. Cool. So I appreciate the offer.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks again.
All right, take care.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.